Aloha and good afternoon. I'm Dylan Ancheta in the H&N Digital Center. Thanks for joining us here on this breaking news special stream. We've been following several big stories all this morning, one of them regarding airlines and a technology or internet outage that is delaying flights statewide. But first, we want to get to the latest situation out on Oahu's North Shore, where a hostage situation has ended. Our Jolani Martinez joins us now live there outside of the Dillingham Polo Fields. Aloha, Jolani, what can you tell us so far?
Farrington Highway has reopened, and we're now outside of the Hawaii Polo Field in Waialua, and we're going to zoom in to show you that Honolulu Police's Specialized Services Department is still out here investigating. We got here around 11:45, and there were police officers still arriving in unmarked cars. Honolulu Fire Department and Emergency Medical Services were also here. We spoke with people who were waiting back outside to pass through since 10:30 this morning, and they've seen between 50 to 75 officers arrive here. Now, one witness who was running along Farrington Highway recalls seeing the police chase and a white pickup truck pulling into the polo field. Another witness was on the beach when she heard 2 gunshots and was told to evacuate the area. And just before 12:15, we heard about 6 gunshots. Now, multiple sources tell us the suspect was shot and killed.
Thank you so much, Jolani. Now, we also understand that you did speak to some of those witnesses a short time ago. Tell us a little bit about what they said.
I will say that they were overwhelmed with seeing the amount of Honolulu police officers out here on the North Shore. They did recall the witness that I mentioned, who was evacuated from the beach, did recall hearing 1 gunshot and then hearing another gunshot a few moments later. The other witness, who was running down Farrington Highway, saw the pickup truck pull into Polo Field and saw there were 2 police officers right behind him. But again, these witnesses saw about 50 to 75 officers out here. Some were in plain clothes and some were also armed and had their vests on.
Thank you so much, Jolani. And I understand we also have that sound bite. I'm going to go ahead and play that out for our viewers right now. This is some of that, the part of that interview that Jolani just mentioned.
We decided to, cool off in the ocean for a minute, and we heard 1 gunshot go off. We were then informed that it was a hostage situation and that someone may have been hit. And at that point, we decided that it was, safer to kind of move off to the side. At that point, we did hear, I think, at least 1 more gunshot. And it was at that moment that we decided we needed to kind of get to safety. We heard 1 gunshot and we were told there was a hostage situation, so my first thought was that maybe someone was hit, and it was a very scary feeling, as you can imagine. He was outside of the car. He was positioning over the door, and it was at the time when he was kind of repositioning in different areas and letting off shots. That's when we decided we really needed to get somewhere more safe. At first it was, I think we were a little shell-shocked. Like I said, we didn't really think, we thought maybe it was, something kind of smaller, but as it unfolded, we learned that it was something a little more serious.
Definitely a tense situation out there. Now, Jolani, you've been there for several hours now, and you've seen this unfold from when the roads were blocked all the way until now. Can you tell us, what is the atmosphere like and how many authorities remain on scene?
Again, we saw dozens of I just want to give you a layout of just how far the closure was. So it was about a quarter mile away from the Hawaii Polo Field, and there they had an officer blocking off the area. Now, as I mentioned, at around 12:15, we heard about 6 gunshots, and that's when we saw Honolulu Fire Department and EMS moving into the Polo Field. And one of the witnesses we spoke to described it as rapid fire. She heard rapid fire. Another witness says it sounded like crossfire. But we will be speaking with Honolulu Police soon, and we'll be giving you updates as they continue to investigate.
Jelani, one more question for you. We do know that Farrington Highway was closed in the area for quite some time, and the road where this happened is near a popular beach. It's on the way to the Dillingham Airfield. Can you tell us what was the traffic like getting in there? It is a one-way in and out kind of deal. So for those people that were there on the other side of the blockade, were they told to basically just hang tight, stay in place, or have they been able to head out now? What's that like?
So some people actually chose to sit and wait for about 3 hours until the road reopened. Others decided to turn around, and the beach actually near here, the public access beach, was actually open. So there were still people who parked on the side and went to the beach instead. But I will say there were about a dozen cars that were willing to wait for Farrington Highway to reopen and head toward Mokule'i'a side.
Well, our Jelani Martinez out there on Oahu's North Shore, we thank you so much for joining us here on this extended stream, giving us the latest information that we know. Once again, to recap, police have fatally shot and killed the suspect, and we do know that the hostage in that situation is reported to be safe. So Jelani Martinez, thank you so much again for joining us here on this extended stream. We want to get to some other stories now regarding the massive outage, internet outage on impacting flights across Hawaii. We got some new images into our newsroom right now. Let me go ahead and show you this. This is from the Lihue Airport. We do know that a temporary internet outage has led to dozens of Hawaiian Airlines flights being delayed. We've heard from people who have said that they have been on the tarmac, sitting on planes for upwards of 2 hours. Now, we are still learning more about this, but what I can tell you is the issue started around 9 a.m. during scheduled maintenance. Now, in a statement, Hawaiian Airlines said it was caused by a power disruption through its internet provider, DR Fortress. Now, DR Fortress said it was a maintenance issue that impacted connectivity for a few minutes, causing its entire system to reboot. You're looking at an image from Oahu's airport. Take a look at just some of the travelers' bags that have packed up there in the terminal. A lot of frustrated travelers today. Continuing, officials adding to the flight tracking, according to the flight tracking website FlightAware, there were at least 19 Hawaiian flights delayed at Daniel K. Inouye International Airport. There were 9 at Kahului and 6 at Lihue Airport. And over in Hilo, there were 3 reported delays there. Officials added that flight safety has not been impacted and the outage has since been resolved. Now, Hawaiian Airlines is apologizing for the inconvenience and is working with affected guests. The airline also said the outage is unrelated to their recent system upgrade there. So a lot going on if you are traveling today. A lot of frustrated passengers. Be sure to pack your patience. Once again, take a look at this video right here from Lihue Airport. A lot of people just waiting and wondering when they could take off. Now, we do know anytime there's anything like this that happens, it's really a domino effect. So we can anticipate delays well into the evening hours, but hopefully the airlines works to bring things up to full speed very soon. It has been a very busy day here in our newsroom. We are tracking a lot of other stories, including the latest on the University of Hawaii's search for their next athletic director. President David Lassner today came out and announced his front runner, his pick to lead up the department, but his confirmation is awaiting approval by the UH Board of Regents. We're going to go ahead and play out some of the other top stories from today's news cycle. Angelos is currently the Senior Deputy of Athletics at Long Island University in New York and previously held the Athletic Director role at Florida Atlantic University. The Board of Regents could approve the appointment as soon as next week, Thursday. If that happens, he would start work Monday, June 5th, taking over for current AD David Matlin, who is retiring. And joining us now with more on this is our Mark Carpenter. Mark, can you tell us a little bit more about Angelos and what the next steps are?
Yeah, thank you very much for having me, Dylan. Yeah, so as you mentioned, mentioned, Angelos has a very extensive national resume, primarily based on the East Coast, currently working as an athletic director at Long Island University, but with prior experience at programs such as University of Miami, Indiana, South Florida, and his lengthy job in the top position of leading a department was at Florida Atlantic from 2003 to 2012.
Can you tell us, if he is approved by the Board of Regents, what are some of the challenges he'll face as the AD for University of Hawaii Athletics?
Well, you talk with analysts around the program, and they immediately say that this is a tough job. This is unlike any other job in the rest of the country. One of the biggest issues is Hawaii's geography, the fact that it's, so far away from the continental United States. So you have, of course, the inherent issues of always trying to attract recruits, trying to have big donors, trying to have fundraisers that are here, homegrown, people that want to contribute to the program. That's always been one of the hurdles in building a successful program. And right now, when you look at the current landscape of University of Hawaii Athletics, the largest issue is what is happening with the stadium, the football stadium. So you have the team right now playing its games at Chink Field. And in the meantime, you're just trying to see what is going to be unfolding with Aloha Stadium, the future development plan. And so that all ties in together, because if you don't have a viable stadium, an attractive stadium, if they even want to be playing at Aloha Stadium in the long term, how are you going to be getting recruits in the meantime? And so all of that is folded in together, really presents a hurdle for whoever is coming into this position, no matter what their prior background is. And something else that when you mention a candidate that is coming from the mainland is, how is this person going to connect with the local culture? It's something that also is unique to Hawaii, and just really understanding the intricacies of working with the community and really connecting with the community. And so this is a lengthy process. There is still some time to unfold with this, Dylan.
Yeah, and not to mention morale as well. We know about UH's glory days when they were national football champions, but that has kind of tapered off a little bit. Do you anticipate rallying up morale as another big challenge that he'll face?
Well, that was one of the things that happened, and that was kind of a developing crisis with the university, was morale. You saw the entire fiasco with what was happening with former head football coach Todd Graham. And credit to the university. They did a masterful job of turning morale around when they brought in Timmy Chang, homegrown hero. He comes in, he kind of revives the program, he brings back local pride in the program. So they've already had enormous steps in that way. And, you talk about football, but you also can't ignore the success of the basketball programs, of the volleyball programs. And so the program is really in a good place right now, morale-wise. But, when you bring in somebody to take over as athletics director, the big question is, how is this person going to lead the department going forward? How is this person going to grow the department, attract talent, and really make this a viable place long-term?
Our Mark Carpenter, thank you so much for your insight on the hunt for UH's next athletic director.
Thank you very much.
New at noon, the verdict is in. An Idaho jury has found Lori Vallow Daybell guilty on all counts of killing her 2 children and conspiring in the murder of her husband's first wife. This new video posted by East Idaho News was released from the Kauai Police Department and used in the trial. It shows Lori and her husband, Chad Daybell, hanging out by a pool back in January 2020 as she's being served court documents demanding she produce her 2 missing children, JJ Vallow and Tylee Ryan, to Idaho authorities within 5 days. Now, prosecutors argued that the couple conspired to remove the children from their lives as part of a doomsday-focused plot. Danya Backus has more.
Answer: guilty.
Idaho mother Lori Vallow Daybell appeared to show no emotion as a jury found her guilty of murdering her 2 youngest children and her new husband's late wife. She now faces a sentence of life in prison with no chance of parole. The jury took just hours to reach its verdict. During the 4-week trial, prosecutors say Lori Vallow Daybell and her 5th husband, Chad Daybell, killed her 2 children in 2019 so they could be unencumbered by obstacles and could have money, power, and sex. Investigators found the remains of 16-year-old Tylee Ryan and 7-year-old Joshua J.J. Vallow a year later, buried on Chad Daybell's property. J.J. Vallow's grandfather is pleased with the verdict.
I want to personally thank and I want to personally hug every one of those jurors. What they went through, what they saw is mind-boggling.
Former friend Melanie Gibb testified that Valo Daybell believed evil spirits had taken over people in her life, including her children, and turned them into zombies. Lori Vallow married Daybell in 2019, just 2 weeks after the death of Daybell's wife Tammy. After her body was exhumed, the Utah medical examiner determined she died at the hands of another of asphyxiation. The couple was charged with her murder.
Why, Lori? Why, Lori?
Vallow's lawyers described their client as a protective mother who fell under the romantic spell of a wannabe cult leader, Daybell. Vallow Daybell declined to testify. Her lawyers did not call any witnesses, saying they did not believe prosecutors had proven their case. Chad Daybell will be tried separately next summer. Danya Backus, CBS News.
Honolulu police arrested a man for an apparent kidnapping in Waipahu. Officers were called to the Waipahu Towers development on Pupumomi Street around 4 p.m. yesterday. According to authorities, the suspect broke into a 34-year-old woman's home and forcefully took a 3-month-old baby. A few hours later, the suspect was located at his Kaimuki home and arrested. He now faces multiple charges, including kidnapping and burglary. The child was found unharmed and returned to his mother. HPD said officers had served the suspect a TRO on behalf of the victim and the infant child earlier that morning. Police have not yet disclosed if there is any relation between the suspect and the victim. He remains in custody pending investigation. And over on Hawaii Island, county police say to be on the lookout for Shanice Ogata Stodinger, but don't approach her because she's considered to be armed and dangerous. The 28-year-old is suspected of repeatedly stabbing a 43-year-old man last week on Ohiki Street in Pahoa. Police say she may be driving a red Toyota Sequoia SUV. Call 808-935-3311 with any tips.
On Maui, Sunday will be Chelsea Evans' first Mother's Day since the tragic death of her oldest son. Firefighter Trey Evans-Dumaran was sucked into a storm drain in late January while trying to help clear a blockage during a flash flood. He was just 24 years old. His family is planning to hold a celebration of life for Trey on Mother's Day this Sunday.
The reality is that what else would we do on Mother's Day? You know, it would be a lot of time of sitting around and missing him. I actually think it's really fitting. This is the closest that I feel like I can be to him.
Sunday's event is at the Hannibal Tavares Community Center from 10 to 4. There are also celebrations planned for the Big Island in June and on Molokai in July.
A Marine veteran accused of killing a homeless man who witnesses say was acting erratically on a New York subway is now charged with second-degree manslaughter. 24-year-old Daniel Perry appeared in a Manhattan courtroom on Friday. He was not required to enter a plea and was released on $100,000 bail. Penny is also required to surrender his passport and cannot leave the state of New York without a judge's approval. He's due back in court on July 17th. Penny's attorney says he risked his life for other passengers when he put Jordan Neely in a chokehold during that May 1st subway ride. Penny restrained Neely after witnesses say he began shouting that he was hungry, thirsty, and had little to live for. The medical examiner ruled the death a homicide, but that does not necessarily mean there was intent or culpability. Well, the end of the COVID-era immigration policy known as Title 42 did not result in a substantial increase in migrant encounters overnight. That's according to officials with the U.S. Homeland Security Department. But they do acknowledge that Border Patrol officials are still dealing with high levels of migration along the U.S.-Mexico border. Nicole Skanga reports from Brownsville, Texas.
Migrants crossed the border directly into waiting buses in El Paso, Texas Friday, hours after Title 42 expired. Homeland Security officials say so far the policy change has not led to a surge in border crossings.
We have not seen any substantial increase in encounters overnight or any influx at midnight.
But migrant arrival numbers remain high, and the Mexican government estimates there are more than 26,000 migrants waiting to enter the U.S.
We provide lawful, safe, and orderly pathways for people to come to the United States when they qualify for relief.
Under the policy now in effect, migrants cannot gain asylum without first applying for it in another country. Those caught crossing illegally face a 5-year ban and possible criminal charges. Migrants seeking asylum who make it across the border and through processing face more confusion and uncertainty about their status in the U.S.
Porque son muy feos.
Daisy Guerrero from Venezuela tells us she survived a kidnapping before reaching this migrant shelter in the Rio Grande Valley.
I don't want the families to be exposed to any dangers.
Sister Norma Pimentel runs Catholic Charities, one of the biggest nonprofit migrant shelters in Texas.
I focus on the humanitarian part. I care about the families and making sure that they're treated with dignity and respect.
She says the policy change is making it difficult for migrants to know what to expect. Nicole Skanga, CBS News, Brownsville, Texas.
Well, there are less than 3 weeks to go until Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen says the nation will run out of money to pay its bills. Now, congressional leaders were supposed to discuss the debt ceiling with President Biden today. However, that meeting has been postponed. Willie James Inman is in Washington with why putting the meeting off could actually be a good thing.
President Biden and congressional leaders agreed to postpone their planned debt ceiling meeting until next week.
The staff has met the last 2 days. We think it's productive for the staff to meet again.
The meetings have been productive over the past few days, and leaders wanted to continue before they regrouped.
Those discussions will continue over the weekend behind closed doors, but both sides are still publicly pointing fingers at each other.
We are not going to negotiate over the debt limit. That is something that Congress should act on. That is their constitutional duty.
I have not seen from there a seriousness of the White House that they want to deal. It seems like they want to default more than they want to deal.
Former President Trump has chimed in to say Republicans should let the U.S. default if they don't get what they want in the negotiations. And he does have some sway with House Republicans.
3 of the 4 have said that we have to avoid default. They've been very clear. We have to take default off the table. I will let you guess who was the 4th that did not say that.
Republican senators also dismissed the idea.
He's not the president, so he doesn't have a vote on it currently. We're not going to default.
Majority Leader Chuck Schumer sent a letter to colleagues Friday morning urging the GOP to take default off the table and added the clock is ticking. Willie James Inman, CBS News, the White House.
Well, now to some disappointing news for families on the neighbor islands. E.K. Fernandez has made a difficult decision that has led to the cancellation of the Maui and Hawaii Island fairs. There are various reasons, but one of them is the unavailability of rides. Hawaii's only thrill ride provider, E.K. Fernandez Shows, says it's struggling to fill positions, and without more skilled workers, it can't get all the equipment to and from the neighbor islands in the required time. Families and businesses were looking forward to the fairs.
And it's an opportunity to fundraise, and some of the organizations use the fair to fulfill their whole fundraising for the whole year. So to not have it in the community it's devastating. It's a blow to the economy, and all these small businesses that we work with that generate income for them, they're losing out too.
The company's also factoring in rising costs. Both the Maui Fair and the Big Island Fair haven't run since 2019. The 50th State Fair at Aloha Stadium, however, is set to begin later this month. Let's take you live outside now to beautiful Hilo Bay. This is Coconut Island there in Hilo. Beautiful day across the state. Not a lot of rain on our radar, although some pop-up showers here and there. For more on this, let's get you over to Guy Hoggy.
Because the winds are light, right, we could see some pop-up showers. But notice there's nothing in terms of organized rainfall coming in anytime soon. But with the return of the trade winds, which is expected back tomorrow, we will see those passing windward and Mauka showers, mainly falling in the overnight and early morning hours. But rainfall totals, rainfall buildups will be very, very skimpy. I love this shot from Jock Goodman over on Kauai. Beautiful stuff, yeah? So again, just a few spotty showers with the variable winds mostly late in the day into the early evening, dissipating in the overnight hours. And then tomorrow, with the trade winds coming back, we'll likely see a few light passing showers for those windward neighborhoods. So really a beautiful weekend is shaping up. And these light winds, well, they'll continue into next week, but at least we'll have a trade wind breeze. So starting tomorrow, the air quality should be pretty good. We're setting up for a good Mother's Day in terms of weather.
Here's what's coming up on Sunrise Weekends. We're going to talk story with Hawaii's newest youth poet laureate. They'll be in studio with us. Also, Foodland is celebrating their 75th anniversary. They'll be with us up in the kitchen. And of course, Sunday is Mother's Day. We'll talk story with Frank DeLima, who will be having a show coming up on Sunday. This and much, much more. Join Annalisa Burgos and myself, Billy V, at Sunrise Weekends starting at 7 a.m. on Hawaii News Now.
Could you be paid if your flight is delayed? That's the idea being pitched by the Biden administration if it's the airline's fault. Now, joining us this afternoon is Mike Valerio to explain the pitch. Hey, Mike.
Hey, Ashley. Well, it comes down to this. If there's a meltdown of the airlines making, think the Southwest debacle last December that left thousands of people stranded, the Biden administration is saying that passengers should be compensated. But Ashley, what that compensation or payment looks like right now is still up in the air.
What do passengers deserve if delays turn disastrous? Passengers like Pam Shelby left heartbroken after the 2022 holiday travel meltdown.
Because I wanted to visit my family, but there's nothing I can do about it.
New this week, President Joe Biden proposing a federal rule change that would compensate passengers for delays and cancellations caused by the airlines. It could take effect by the end of this year. But already in the European Union, passengers can receive up to $663 for significant delays.
One study found that the European Union required airlines to compensate passengers for flight delays. The number of flight delays went down.
Right now, 10 U.S.-based carriers cover the cost of meals for passengers and 9 cover the cost of hotels if delays or cancellations are caused by the airlines. But they do so voluntarily and can stop at any time. Brian Summers, founder and editor of the Airline Observer, says Biden's proposal could be stronger.
He didn't necessarily say you'd get a cash payment as you do in the European Union. You could get a travel credit or even frequent flyer miles.
Mary Schiavo, a former U.S. Department of Transportation Inspector General, says this signals a reversal of airline deregulation, which ushered in an era of misery.
Remember, the taxpayers of the United States own the airways. We own the runways. We own the airports. The airlines do not own those. We need to re-regulate in a grand scale with a coherent and intelligent United States transportation policy.
So, Ashley, the airlines are not happy about this. A trade group that represents them is saying, quote, U.S. airlines have no incentive to delay or cancel a flight and do everything in their control to ensure that flights depart and arrive on time. And safety is always the top priority. So we're going to have to wait a couple months to see how exactly this shakes out, Ashley.
Yeah, and Mike, travelers need to know under this plan, they will only be compensated if it's the airline's fault, if being the key word, right?
Yeah, and I think, Ashley, that's one of the more important things of this story. I don't want people to watch and say, okay, if there's weather in Hawaii and my flight is delayed, then I get potentially compensated, potentially paid. It's if there is a technology disruption, if there's a labor disruption that is all the fault or the purview of the airline, or, potentially something that is within their control, like, a scheduling delay or scheduling problem that should have been resolved hours earlier. That is the sort of thing that can be compensated. But severe weather, or if there are shortages with air traffic controllers up in the control tower, that is something that is not the airline's fault, and that would not be compensated.
And Mike, do we know why this is happening now, why this pitch is coming about now?
Well, administration officials in the White House are telling our team that they realize that this is going to be, most likely, Ashley, a terrible summer travel season. And the prelude for that were, indications that there could be a shortage of FAA control tower operators and that there could be pilot strikes happening this summer. So what the Biden administration is trying to do is get ahead of those problems and show to Americans that they are trying to contribute something that could benefit us all, especially when these things are so frustrating when we're trying to get from the mainland to Hawaii and vice versa.
All right, Mike Valerio joining us this afternoon. Appreciate the time, Mike.
Let's go ahead and check out some good news now. Now, there is a super cute story about a graduate from Virginia Tech. Brittany Weir introduces us to the woman who just goes to prove that you're never too old to learn something new.
Meet Kay Castagnoli. She is gearing up to graduate as a proud Hokie from Virginia Tech.
Well, I've been told I have to walk across the stage. I've been given the ultimatum. So, yeah, I'm going to do that.
At 85 years young, she will be the oldest person to earn her bachelor's degree in music summa cum laude, and not to mention with honors. She began taking classes at Virginia Tech in 2007.
Now, I always wanted to go back into the music, which I'd been out of for some time.
Castagnoli has been taking 1 or 2 classes a semester.
I had to take a class in theory, a class in harmony.
Just like every student, she's faced her challenges.
Oh, the one I thought I was always going to fail was we had to sing. We had to sing. We had to get a piece of music put in front of us and read it off vocally. And I thought, I will never pass this test.
But with hard work and a great support system, she overcame.
I worked on doing that so much. So when we had it, I did it, and there was a leap that was very difficult, and I nailed it. I couldn't believe it.
That support system is her family, especially her husband.
He keeps me going. I say, I can't do this. Of course you can do this.
He drives her to class every day so she can live out her dream.
And to come here and use my fingers again and actually have the opportunity to perform, you know, that was exciting for me.
Where did your love of, music and kind of the arts come from? When did you...
My mother couldn't even sing a note on key, but she loved music.
Castagnoli says she is stunned with the recognition she is receiving for just pursuing her passion of learning and music.
Okay, I go to school. I love going to school. I do my school. I never, ever in my mind would have known it would get to this. Never.
What a beautiful story there, and true talent. I mean, if I had to read sheet music and sing it off, I would probably fail as well. But so good for her. So glad to see that she was able to persevere and end up getting that degree and becoming one of the oldest people to get a degree from that school. So congratulations to her. Let's send you outside for one more live look. This is out over an Oahu shoreline. I'm not exactly sure which one. We do have this camera queued up, and every day it's a different shot. But as you can see, it's blue skies and nothing too bad out there in terms of wind and rain. So enjoy the weekend, everyone. Speaking of the weekend, we also want to give a shout out to the mothers in our life. This is my ohana. This is my mom and my sister. Both of them are mothers as well. We went to Mary Monarch this year. And this is my grandma. Fun and playful she is. She also joined us at Mary Monarch as well. Of course, we are taking a look at all of our mothers. This is Ashley and her mom ahead of Mother's Day, which is this Sunday. Yes, that's right. It's this Sunday. So if you haven't yet gotten a gift for mama, it's never too late to get a bouquet of flowers, some chocolate, maybe a new bag. This is our traffic reporter, Jonathan Masaki, and his mom, our Ben Gutierrez and his mom, decked out in lei and flowers there. This is our assignment desk and assistant news director, Brenda Salgado's mom. Lovely smiles there, Annalisa as well. So we are just so happy to celebrate them. This is the family of our producer, Sunrise producer, Mike Casper, Kyle Chinen, and of course his ohana there, our sportscaster there, Jolani Martinez, who you heard from at the top of this stream. We are loving seeing all of the Mother's Day pictures here. If you have a mother in your life that you'd like to celebrate, please send it to us, news@hawaiinewsnow.com, or use the burst feature on our website and mobile app. We thank you all so much for tuning into this special stream of Hawaii News Now. Be sure to tune in to our evening newscast for the latest on all of the breaking news that's happened throughout the day. Our first newscast starts at 4 o'clock on KHNL and K5. Have a great day, everyone. Aloha.